playing pranks on each other.
Eh?
Playing pranks and tricks.
Oh yeah, but tricks.
Mention one.
One night, they were a very nice fella in a ward, and I liked him, you know, I thought he was nice, you know. But, and he said to me, he said, will you take out my trousers out of the bag, my government bag, he said, give me his card. And I went over to it, and he says, will you press them? And I said, oh, sure, I pressed them and come back, and I thought if she's his best friend, she must be nice, you know. But I saw the bottom of his trousers.
Closed?
The bottom of his trousers, you know, he didn't see it. And he put on his trousers and he fell.
For patient.
He fell and flew. And then he didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was wrong with his trousers. So he says, something wrong with them trousers. I don't know.
That's so funny.
So I was not pulling out the stitches.
Yeah.
And I says, I could see nothing wrong with them. But she didn't come back in him. Both to see him. And then Murray, there was another man, and he always seen, every time we seen Murray had asked for a bedpan. And she was going down this morning, she says, if he asked me for a bedpan the day he came first thing, I'm not going. And he said, Fog Mahone, she's a nurse, I want a bedpan, and he says, Fog Mahone, she said Fog Mahone, and he answered that I wouldn't kick, wouldn't what?
Kiss your ass?
I wouldn't kiss, but I could kick. And she then thought, oh Jesus, he knows
He spoke Irish, yeah.
He was from the north of Scotland. And she was in a while that way, you know. And then I said, she would have done for a thing. He said, it's all right. I said, you're not a report to Sheila. He said, oh, not at all. I would never report to her, you know. But I was scared she would get into trouble for doing the trousers. And there were a wild thing they were doing, they used to make French beds. Did you ever make them?
No.
You could make the bed if you were somebody you didn't like, or somebody you did like very well. And you make the bed, but you pick only half of the sheet, you know. Then they would go together well at night, you couldn't get your feet down.
That's so bad.
The funny one I
You
made
rascal.
myself, you know.
Scallywag.
So you're gonna go to wait for yourself, you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask the Irish ones? We have 40 minutes
It's
so far. Yeah.
Oh, this is gone.
Sorry. Also the Irish ones you said?
But we thought that was funny, you know, but I think
They're
then,
not like
Oh,
about.
that was kind of the key
Oh, really?
ones.
Ah,
and-
perfect,
Because it
perfect.
was the same as the Banshee.
Perfect. Just wanted to know.
What
As long
else
as you
do you
have-
want to ask you, Grandma?
Also, if you want to tell them like memories with specific family members, I think you said that to
Yeah.
me once. Like, tell me
What?
about Maggie, tell me about.
Tell me about Annie.
Or Anna,
Your sister.
my sister, and he was wicked. And whenever she was a wee girl, she fainted. She was sick, and Mommy put her on. There was a set of beds in the house, and there's a wood, and they were used as they were like a sofa. Now there wasn't many sofas then, you see, and she we had a set of bed, and it was, you could open it, Mommy could open it and put a mattress on it when she had nobody to watch us when we were away, and then she could put us on there that we couldn't get out. You see, she could go down to the well for water, or she couldn't go out and do her work. But, we couldn't get out of bed, or we couldn't hurt ourselves.
Mm.
And Annie, I don't know what happened to Annie one time, but there was an iron thing down in the bottom of it, you see, that when you close it, them two, you close them two things would open when they were sitting. When you opened up, it would be out the gap there, you see, take it out, we could jump out, walk out of it. But when they were up, they couldn't jump out of it. And Annie jumped out anyhow and she fell and she hurt her head and she fainted then after it. So then if anybody made her cry, she would faint again.
Mm.
And Mommy, I remember when Mommy went to school and she said to the teacher, and one thing I'll tell you to do, he says, she's a wee devil, but don't make her cry because she faints every time she cries. So she was beginning to do some rendition one day and the master caught her and he slapped her. She fainted, but she just couldn't faint it. But she fainted in style and when she cried. And I rolled at them up and last and I kicked him with 2 shillings.
For slapping Annie?
I asked his Mommy told us, did Mommy tell you not to slap her, not to touch her? If she was doing anything bad, they'd just tell her and she would chastise her.
Mm.
She said, I'll have to find a way of, if she does anything wrong in school, but Annie wouldn't do that. And I kicked his 2 shillings. And I would say, the mother tell you not to touch her, not to touch, and she would chastise her herself. And I was kicking away. And he just said, you down there and settle yourself. She's going to be all right. And I said, she could die, wouldn't she? And she was still alive. And I was crying out loud, you know. And he then got well scared of himself. He thought maybe she could die. So
You think she was just letting on?
she was only letting on. She could just lie down, you know, or be tongue out. So that was him. He never slapped her after it. Or he never slapped me. He never had to slap me because I couldn't. He would. One time Mommy gave us butter on the bread, so we didn't like the butter because it would be soft. And I took it out now and the master had abolished the head. And I was talking to somebody and he put me down at the back seat and he put me in the middle of the seat and he put me Sean Doherty on one side and Fonzie Farn on the other. He had just the 3 of us in the back seat. So I was looking in my bag for something and I seen this lump of butter and I rolled it up. Rather he was sitting with his back to the front. And I thought, oh, that would be a good shot for me. So I got to roll it up, you know, just stuck with the stab. And the here well were not saying, oh, Peter, oh, Peter. I could hear him saying, oh, Peter, on you. And first of all, he happened to watching me with another, and he was laughing. And he came down and he came up, I didn't live down because he was laughing. But he never told the master it was me. No. And,
What does that mean?
eh?
Peter on you?
Peter on you. I don't know what it meant. It was just a word they had. If anybody did their sums or anything wrong, he'd say, oh, Peter on you, you know, Peter on you. You're not right.
I have a good one for closure. Like closure ones. What was the most important lesson you have learned in life? Like once.
Well, what was the most important lesson you learned in life?
It was the best thing to do everything right, do nothing wrong, and be learn to be a good person. I didn't want to do anything that was wrong.
By this you mean not cheating, not lying, kind of thing?
Mm.
You mean like to be like an honest person?
I never got myself into trouble at those days.
That's good.
Henry then was, he'd be well for disobeying. And he said there was a dance, we danced down on a house we down where we'd have to cross the river, you know, the road to it. And we were asked down to this party, and we said, no, you're not going. You'd have to cross the river, and it's too long to go around the road. And he said to me, come on, you put on your Sheila thing. She's down milking the cows and we'll be away when she comes up, and she'll never miss us, just like we're in bed. And I said, oh, well. And I thought, I'll go this year anyhow, but who knows, halfway out the window, Mommy come in.
Oh, gee.
She gave me where to hide it. And she says, where's Henry? And I said, I would tell him to do that. She says, well, we're going to go down to the dance. Didn't I tell you you were alone? I said, well. And she said, you disobeyed me. I said, I'm sorry. But I was sorry after. And she came out of hiding. And then Henry, I said to Henry, you know, I waited. I heard him coming in, and I was up to that telling him that Mommy was ready. She came on, she gave him hiding away, and me and others had been up. And like, it was wrong of me to do it, it was wrong of us to think, but didn't like him going on his own, I didn't like disobeying her, you know, but I thought it would be better to get the hiding and let him go on his own, but he went on his own, and when I came in, I got to do what I needed.
Is there any other person you want to ask her about?
No,
Well, what's your favourite memory of Daddy?
my father.
No, your son, my Daddy.
Oh, I thought there were nobody like him, still do. That's my favourite thing about it. He never disobeyed me in his life. Now when he gives me a gub.
Well, what about him as a wee boy?
He was a good wee boy, and I remember he always said to Daddy, Daddy, I want you to read me a lesson before we go to bed. He had to get
A story?
wee story, and but then Daddy, he was out in the hill one day with his father, and he wanted to drive the horse and cart home. This is actually, and he sat him on his knee, and he was, when he was sitting behind him, he could work the horse, you know,
The reins.
the horse in and out as he wanted. And he was sitting, he thought he was driving a horse and driving a cart, and he fell asleep. Then he went on me say, before we got home, and he says, then John asked him the next night he was coming back, can I get us? He handed him a book, can I read? He said, he thought Daddy was in it as a book. He said, Daddy was reading a story out of the book, and he took the book. Daddy, he said there was a wee boy, and he used to go to home and ask his daddy, but the wee boy fell asleep, and then he would say, Daddy, don't say that, don't tell me that one again. And then it was the same story every night, and then he would say, Daddy, don't tell me that story again, I don't want to hear it. But Daddy then I would get away from telling the story. We'd tell him something else, but John was a good wee boy now, he fought one time was James Canny, and his cousin. They fought one day out in everything, and Daddy gave him a town off, for fighting with his wee cousin. And James was bigger than him, so big he was, but he was a good boxer, he could. And he would go home every night, he was at the boxing, you see, and then the teacher, he wanted to send them on, and send them on, surely to God, but he didn't have to sit waiting on him to come home with me. He was thinking he would meet somebody that was worse than him, better than himself. And I wouldn't, then when he didn't let him go to boxing. And so he was better off. And then they could always beat James Canny at the boxing, you see, in the class. Then they wanted me to keep him on at school at the boxing and let him go boxing. And I said no. And then he would come on and I would sit up every night, he would come on and I said, thank God you're not bleeding now, you're not. But Mommy, you should see the other fellow and I'd say, oh Jesus, Mary and Joseph, what will this Mommy think when we go home? And he says, she could watch him, And he said, if you'd seen him, the blood was all over him. So then I said, no more boxing.
Anyone else you think? Huh?
Any other good memories you want to tell us?
Anything you want to share?
Hmm?
In general, you want to share something about your life, about someone, about
What?
Anything at all.
like maybe something that moves you, a quote?
Eh?
Would you
You were in what?
explain? Tell her, you tell her.
Anything at all you want to say?
Like maybe a quote.
No, I shouldn't really love
No?
that quote. Have you any good quotes?
Any good cook?
Or someone you admire. Something about someone you admire. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's called like so.
So that I think I could think on.
We'll have to do a part 2.
I know.
We'll have to do a part 2 for that.
Like, what's a good reason to wake up every day?
Hmm?
What motivates you every day?
I think there's plenty of things that I would.
Anything that motivates you? Well, what's your final word of wisdom?
Do everything right. Don't do. Make sure that you never do anything wrong. And you'll get on.
Right, wave to the camera now.
Look at the camera.
Huh?
Here.
Alright.
Wait.
Wave now. Say goodbye.
Cheerio. Cheerio.
Cheerio. Slam the foil.
Gotta do everything good.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I don't think ever I did anything wrong. I tried to not do anything wrong in my life.
Of course.